This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I'm your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my co-host. And, we're just going to get right into it. First and foremost, though, I want to thank my good buddy and friend, Nick, and Mr. Rob. As you can see, we're trying a different setup, so I appreciate them for lending us these wonderful Ravens gifts, just trying out something. So I just want to give them a shout-out just before we get started into this. But, tough loss. I mean, I know just from my part, it's going to be pretty emotional for me. I want this to be a pretty passionate one because we have seen this time and time again. And, just some things that we're going to cover. We're going to go over John Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. We're going to go over Todd Monken, the defense, Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell goes into the whole personnel issues that we've had, the play calling. But first and foremost, let's talk about this head coach. This has been his MO. This has been his bio of just collapsing, blowing leads, and it just can't happen. It can't happen. And shout out to that reporter that asked Keaton Mitchell only had one carry in the second half. Why was he not a factor in the game plan in the second half? And John goes, "Oh, that's just how the game goes." It's a slap in the face to the fans, especially the fans that go to the game. Mm-hmm. That cannot be your response. I'm sorry. That cannot be your response. That is not good enough. And it makes it worse because he's not a specialist in anything. He doesn't call a plays. All you got to do is call timeouts, call challenges at the right moment. You're the head coach. It comes from the top down. You mean to tell me you can't say, "Todd, we need to get Keaton the ball more"? If you're not doing that, then what is the point of you being out there? So that is my number one thing is the head coach and the coaching staff, because this was going to be another Keaton Mitchell game, ride his coattails, and I think that was a big part in this loss.
Yeah, let me add to that on the John Harbaugh situation. Look, it's ridiculous to me because Mitchell had a game-changing game, and then they don't put him in, Brandon. So, hey, what is Todd Monken thinking? I just don't understand it. I've been listening to a lot of feedback on the radio, on channels. Everybody's wondering in Ravens land, why did Mitchell not be a factor in the second half when he had such a spectacular first half? I just don't get it. Greg Roman used to do this with Dobbins. It's hard to conceive. Look, we lost. I'm trying to keep my emotions in check a little bit because I'm like, okay. But when you see the play calling in Harbaugh in the fourth quarter is known for this. I mean, this is a real problem for the Ravens. We're ahead and we can't keep a lead. It's not like we're behind and can't win a game. We're in the lead. So That's what bothers me the most, Brandon.
Last year, so many games were up at half and we ended up losing. I mean, I saw this graphic of like 8 games of the score at half, and at the bottom it says these were games that the Ravens lost. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be a playoff team, let alone forget about a Super Bowl team, you got to finish games off.
And
like
a lot
this.
of them was the calls on Harbaugh's case. I mean, going on fourth down, going for 2-point conversions last year when we shouldn't
being too aggressive,
being too aggressive in the wrong time at the wrong time. So look. I mean, they just got to get this right. And Harbaugh, I just don't know about him anymore. I mean, and Todd Monken, I'm so disappointed in him. We praised him last podcast.
Yeah, he reverted back to what Roman did. And the fact of the matter is, let's just call a spade a spade. The Cleveland Browns did everything to throw this game away. I mean, they did everything to throw this game away. Watson's first pass is a pick 6. Mitchell has the tremendous run for a touchdown. He has a screen for a touchdown. I mean,
they missed the extra point in the fourth quarter, which still gave us a chance.
But even before that, when you're up 2 scores, run the ball, drain the clock. Yeah. Gus Edwards couldn't get it done. He had 11 carries for 24 yards. He couldn't get it done. After seeing what Mitchell did, can you put him out there?
I know.
At one carry in the second half is unacceptable. I don't want to see Justice Hill. And I told you after the game, I go, this guy was undrafted. You look for these gems, these diamond in the roughs late in the draft. He wasn't even drafted.
I know.
You got a extra weapon to use in the middle of the season. Utilize it.
Yeah, right. You see in the first half what he's done. You're not succeeding in the second half. Why would you not change up?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You know, I saw when Mitchell. The complaints on YouTube. I saw it on Instagram. I saw it on Facebook. I mean, it was blatant. And for those that maybe don't look in the weeds of games that are blaming Lamar, yes, he didn't have a good game. But this should not have been the Lamar come save us type of game. When you're up scores, you should not be throwing the ball as if you're down. Run the clock out.
See, that's the bio that's interesting because when you're up, right, by 2 scores, 2.5 scores, 3 scores. That's when you play Ravens football of pound and ground, right?
That's what we did in 2019, and we had a lead. It was over.
I mean, you milk the clock, you run the ball, you possess it so that the other offense can't be, that Deshaun can't be on the offense
field.
On the field, and you know we did that with Brady years ago, years and years. We kept all these premier quarterbacks off the field.
What frustrated me was that 10-minute drive by Cleveland. I mean, that drive, you know, when you're down, that's the last thing you want. You want to get a score as quick as possible. They get a 10-minute drive as if they're up, as if they have the lead.
Exactly.
And then we get the ball back and don't do anything with it, get it right back. And I told you during the game, we are a momentum type team. Like when we have the trains running and we're going.
Right.
But that's why I want to milk out as much points as possible, because I know with this team and this organization the past few years, we could go 2 quarters without scoring.
Yes.
I mean, it's just so far night and day with this team. And after 2 big wins, the beginning of this game, it looks like it's going to be another rout. It might be over in the first quarter, you know, against a division opponent.
And we never have that. That's the key. In our division, it's always so close by a field goal by Tucker. This was the time that you dominate the division and you say, you know what, we're here and we're going to dominate you.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Cleveland, we're going to dominate you.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it. They failed. They had the chance to do it. I mean, the second play of the game, Hamilton gets a pick 6. Come on. When does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just to pivot now from the Keaton Mitchell situation, because that was blatant. I wanted to get that. That was, to me, that was one of the major reasons why they lost.
Yes.
You don't take the ball out of Colby and Jordan's hands when they're hot. Do it until they figure out how to stop him.
Exactly.
That's just the way I see it. And, you know, in terms of John, the last thing I want to mention is it reminded me of when I saw the Bulls documentary in 2020, when Jordan retired for the first time and Scotty was the man, right? Mm-hmm. And it came out at the end of the season that Scotty isn't the leader that Jordan is. He's not that guy. He's the Robin, and Michael was the Batman. And there was a game where Phil Jackson called up a play for Tony Kukoc to make the last shot. And Scotty felt disrespected because I'm the superstar. I'm the man now. Jordan's not here. I want to take the shot. He refused to go into the game.
Yeah,
he put himself above the team. And you know what Phil did? He said, fine, screw it. I'll sub in whoever for you. I'm still going to run this play because I believe in Tony. And guess what? Tony went out there and hit the shot. And it made Scotty look bad. Yeah. If you want one example of why he wasn't the leader that Jordan was, that is it right there. And that's all you need to say. But I point that out to say the fact that it comes from the top down. Who is the leader? Are you the head coach or not? Yeah. Why are you not overriding Todd and saying, let's get this guy the ball? I'm the head coach.
I know.
I get you don't call the plays. But you got to provide something. Everybody talks about that doesn't know Baltimore like true Ravens fans, how great he is, how much of a leader he is. Well, I don't see it. I see a guy that lets his players do whatever they want and gets walked all over.
Yeah,
Set the tone. Set the tone like Phil Jackson did and say, I'm the leader here.
The example we can use is Andy Reid, who calls all the plays. I mean,
but not only that, it's not. See, I don't want to harp on the play calling. I just want a guy like Tomlin, for example, where
tell the
what
truth.
He says is law.
In a press conference, and in a press conference, when he says the truth, everybody listens.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a leader.
And when John says, "Oh, that's just how the game goes," that doesn't give me any confidence in my head coach. Yeah. Who is in charge? Yeah. That's how the game goes. You dictate how the game goes. You're the head coach. So I just want to say that. But the switch. I know you want to get on this too in terms of defense. Man, physicality went out the door. Tackling went out the door. Yeah. This was I very rarely do we see teams run on us like Cleveland
and you know what? That's exactly right, because I've been hearing and listening, and basically Cleveland came in here and punched us in the mouth, punched us in the face, and we had no answer for it either, Brandon.
And we could have did what they done.
This
played our game.
This is not Ravens football. Nobody wanted to tackle. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Jerome Ford, 17 carries for 107 yards. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry. So you're talking 2nd and 4, third and
20 of them, I would imagine, is after he got stood up and he just ran for another 10 yards on 2 plays. I remember those plays like it was yesterday.
Who's the one player you wanted to bring up that was avoiding tackles time and time again?
Marcus Williams.
So
I am through with him because he doesn't want to. I saw on replays where he was actually backing up, trying not to tackle.
Hamilton was the one.
I was just going to say, Hamilton is the one that came through, Brandon. I have full respect for him. He's our best tackler in the secondary, to me. Yep. And I have full respect for him. Last year, he was, kind of shaky. But this year, he's coming through. He was running from behind the tackle because Marcus Williams wouldn't do it.
It reminds me of all the times where a safety or some other corner had to pick up Marcus Peters scraps because he didn't want to tackle.
Same thing.
Someone else is coming in out of nowhere to pick up hit where he should be the one tackling a guy.
Well, let's just say this. If you're a football player and you don't want to tackle in any position, I think you need to choose another career because that's ridiculous, man. He made us look so bad. Individually, he made us look bad. Patrick Queen, I don't know what happened to him in this game. He was getting beat. He wasn't tackling. It was Deshaun Watson, sorry. He just ran all over us. Nobody could tackle this guy. I didn't know he was that strong, to be honest with you, Brandon. We haven't seen him play.
He made a lot of those plays in Houston. I mean, Roquan had 21 total tackles, but 14 of them were solo tackles, and Queen was behind him with 9 and then 6 total tackles. But that's what you expect out of your linebackers.
Yeah, but the tackles were when he got into the secondary.
Yeah, that also falls on our defensive line too. When we need Michael Pierce to come up big.
He was non-existent on this game. To be honest with you, I didn't really hear his name called after such a fabulous game by this guy.
I think the biggest.
Oh, I know.
I think the biggest worry this game proposed to me in terms of defense was the fact that, you get outside pressure with Clowney or away. And all it takes is the quarterback, his natural progression is to step up in the pocket. Yeah. And when he steps up, you got to have a QB spot, somebody there. And too many times there was nobody there.
I know. Ravens, can you imagine?
With a mobile quarterback.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Lamar had that much room that Deshaun Watson had on that game? I mean, he would be ripping off 20 and 30-yard runs like a running back. So you have how they could not in the third and fourth quarters understand and stuff this guy in the middle and close up the middle. I don't understand. And then speaking of the middle, how about the pass defense in the middle? They could throw on us for 10 and 15 yards every play if they wanted to.
The middle of the field has always been our weakness, especially games against like Pittsburgh, for example, where, they live off of those slants and post routes over the middle.
Yeah.
So
If anybody is really watching film on the Ravens, the middle of the field is a gimme. It's just an absolute gimme. I'm talking about 5 yards, 10 yards, and even more. And especially a team that plays zone.
Yep.
Huh.
So let's pivot to this, the hot topic, especially in terms of national TV coverage, because whenever a team loses, the first player they blame is the quarterback, and it's a lot deeper than that. This game blame the coaching staff more than anything, because this should have been your ground and pound game. Yeah. Even if you don't score, you take off 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes off the clock. You limit their amount of time and possessions that they have when you have the lead, and you don't even need a touchdown at that point. You can live with a field goal, make it a 2-score game. That's what I wanted for them to do when we were up by a touchdown. But let's talk about this. We mentioned Watson stepping up and running, right? You don't see Lamar. He's too late on his decision making. He's still looking to throw the ball still when he needs to go. And then by the time he goes, what happens? He gets tripped up at the ankles, and he eliminates a potential 10+ yard run. So that's the main issue I have with Lamar. The second thing with Lamar too is in crunch time, I still don't have the confidence in him to go have a game-winning drive. For example, just before halftime, we have a minute left, right? Mm-hmm. We're up. We have the momentum, right? Mm-hmm. Let's treat it as if you're down. He throws a go route to Rashad Bateman. They're on 2 different pages. Yep. He throws it 5 yards short of him for an easy interception.
When we needed that first down to keep the drive running for a field goal. Yeah. So those,
those drives where you're like, I don't have trust in them.
Well, it's whether it's Todd Monken's decision or his, whatever the case may be. It's just, I just can't. I don't understand why we do this and shoot ourselves in the foot, Ravens, all the time with this kind of stuff. And I think we're not alone. A lot of the Ravens fans are saying everything we're talking about. Listen, we are happy to have Lamar. He is an athletic quarterback that we've never had, probably the most athletic quarterback in the league at this point.
History.
History. And he needs to, but he needs to mature and understand the game in terms of managing it. He needs to throw the ball away. This is all my opinion. Throw the ball away. He needs to understand when to slide. He needs to understand when he's running.
When to take off.
When to take off.
You can't
exactly.
sit back there.
I mean,
we played into Cleveland's hands with him sitting back there with Myles Garrett.
The most premier.
And I mentioned this to you in our division alone. Garrett,
and
Watt,
and T.J. Watt,
and Trey Hendrickson on the Bengals is a top pass rusher too.
This is the game plan that they need to have
you
with him, and he has to be smart. It's 1001, 1002. Throw the ball or run the ball. So here's the deal. Even when he's running and scampering around, going out of bounds, to me, and I don't know if it's changed because of injuries or what, but he looks like he's galloping, and then he's not running full speed when I feel, to me, I've seen him in his rookie year and his second year, and maybe it's those injuries he had with his ankle. But and then when he's trying to go out of bounds, Lamar. Don't sacrifice your body. He got hit so hard, it took him off his feet. And this is our premier. Listen, this is our premier quarterback. You can't get hurt.
The biggest issue, the biggest concern, I should say, is you look at how many times he dropped back, right? And we can't see the receivers, but obviously they're going down the field.
Yeah.
And nobody's getting open. He's
holding
on to the ball. He's holding on to the ball. But the times we scored when he threw it, right? He threw a quick slant to Odell over the middle, and Odell did the rest of the work. He threw a screen pass to Mitchell. Mitchell did the work. And that was one of the best screen passes I've seen in years. We had 3 blockers in front of him. Yep. It's got to be quick decisions. Let's play like Brady to get the ball out of his hands. I am so sick of seeing everybody go down the field and no one getting open, and he's holding the ball and you're with his choices that he makes, it's only going to hurt us because he's going to try to do too much. Yeah. You got to get the ball out of his hands. It's got to be quick. And they brag about all the speed we have. I mean, Zay Flowers is fast. Bateman has some quickness. Odell, still in his old age, has quickness. Even Nelson Aguilar. Let's get the ball to these guys quickly and let them do the work. Yeah. Let's make it a 3rd and short instead of a 3rd and long.
No, and get the ball out of their hands on a 5, 7, 8 yard pass. Let the playmakers do it. That's what made me mad with Mitchell. Here you got a screen pass. This
let him
rookie,
do the work.
This rookie has the most yards of any rookie in his first 2 games. And what does Todd Monken do, Brandon? He takes him out of the game.
And I just said last week, I just said on the last podcast, I said, I can't imagine them not utilizing him. Yeah. And they did exactly that.
It was so scary to think that we're going to go back to the Greg Roman days with Dobbins. I just can't. I was so worried about that. Here's this guy.
It cannot be Lamar Hero Ball.
All the media is talking about this guy on HBO, everything. And what do? We don't even utilize him. I don't get it.
It cannot be Lamar Hero Ball. If
I know.
You got all these weapons surrounding him, you can't revert back to what you've been doing. And the fact of the matter is, in this division alone, you have to get the ball out of your hands. I don't care if you have a mobile quarterback or not. This division's too good. The defenses are too... I mean, Pittsburgh and Cleveland have one of the best defenses in the league, and they're in our division. We got to play them twice. So it's unacceptable all around. Help. The losses we have is always us shooting ourselves. Like Jacksonville got blown out by San Francisco. We never get blown out. And if we do, it's like, okay, they're just better than us.
Yeah.
But when you lose a game and you go, we were better than them and we lost.
Well, speaking of that,
it makes it 10 times worse.
If you look at the stats, that it proves it. We have had leads in the fourth quarter, in the second half, and we continue to lose when other teams are behind and they come back to win. Yeah. So, C.J. Stroud, for instance, twice already in this season.
You cannot
play smart.
You cannot play teams where they still think they have a chance when they're down by 2 scores.
And when you're up 2 scores like we were, 2.5 scores. I mean, I could read the scores. We were up by 14, 17 points. This is Ravens ball. This is how we play, everybody. Run the ball down their throats. Eat up the clock.
When you're up. But here's the thing is we can beat you with the pass too, but this was not the game. This was not the game. But my thing is this is, okay, if your game plan is to pass it, like with the Lions game, we could have done anything. We were running it all over the place. We were passing all over the place. But the thing is when I look at the stats right here, and I'm not a huge stat guy, but I look at Mark Andrews with 2 catches for 44 yards, 20-something yards a pop. You got to get your playmakers involved in the game in the beginning. You have to get them involved because it opens up everything. Yeah. They'll focus on Andrews, and then you can beat them with a Zay Flowers, and then you could beat them with a screen to Keaton Mitchell or whatever. But it opens up when you get your playmakers involved. And I don't want to see Andrews on a game that he's invisible, and then the next game he's active. It's too up and down. You got where's the consistency?
When you have these defenses in the AFC, and all of the teams have defenses, including us. The key, like we've been harping on, is you got to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands so that the pass rush isn't an issue. And in the middle, all these teams, when I look at all 32 teams, the most vulnerable area is in the middle, right? Because a lot of teams are playing zone, including us. And so, you got to take advantage of that. And look, who are we? We don't make millions of dollars as a defensive coach, McDonald and stuff. What are you thinking? You got to...
I mean, think about this. In the 3 carries that Keaton Mitchell had, he averaged 11 yards.
Versus Gus, what did Gus have?
He averaged 2.2 yards.
And they don't have him in the game?
That's why, to me, Why
by the way,
I wanted to bring up John in the beginning is unacceptable. That cannot be your response as to why you didn't want to include Mitchell in the game.
Hey, do you have Hill's stats on there?
Hill only had 2 carries, 3 yards he averaged. You know, he wasn't really even involved, but he was on the field a lot more than Mitchell in the second half.
So let's take a step back. Here's the thing that really hurts Brandon and me, is that in critical situations on this game, not only were we up in most of the game, the penalties helped us. And that never happens with the Ravens. Never. It happens with Pittsburgh, but not us. And when we got those gifts, we couldn't take advantage of it. When we got the gifts and we could score with field goals with Tucker, we didn't do it. We messed up, and then they came right back and scored on us.
That's why I said they did everything to hand us to win.
Yeah.
The pick six in the beginning of the game, we're up 14-0. And I mean, even when they tied the game up, they missed the extra point. We were still in the league.
We're still in the league.
So they did everything. I mean, I know Cleveland fans, if they had lost that game, they would have said Cleveland Browns versus the refs, because a lot of those were tic-tacky calls. I mean, I'm looking at it as a Ravens fan. If I'm not being biased, of course, and looking at it from afar, I'm going, if that was called on Baltimore, I'd be yelling at the TV.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be like, come on, this is football.
And they helped us so much, really. I agree. But, okay, on the positive sides, and I hope, Todd, that you're watching film tonight, because, look, OBJ on that slant, that's what he's been known for.
But let's see that more.
No, I'm saying, in his history, I was just going to say that, Brandon. Let's see that play more often. That's his bread and butter. It always has been for any team he's ever played on.
Yeah.
So do that. Come on, Todd. Use your advantage. These are veterans that can do that.
Todd has been he's been very good this year. I won't say great or anything. He's been very good. But it's games like this
I'm disappointed
that have you on edge.
Yeah.
You don't know
what he's going to do.
Listen,
why did
I
he
have
do
no
that?
idea what's going to happen against Cincinnati because of this. And this is a short week. You know,
we were last podcast we were pro Todd Monken. I even said it before the game. I love the way he's calling the game. And today, I'm sorry, in the Cleveland game, completely opposite. Completely opposite.
And you know, when Lamar got the ball tipped and it's the pick six, right? First of all, I was sweating bullets even before the pick happened because I knew this was a crucial drive. You needed at least 3 points, make it a 2-score game, you know? And the worst case scenario was what happened.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, we missed the extra point. We got a second chance. But that's what I lack, the confidence in Lamar in crucial drives, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him drive down late in the game, even like I said, before halftime, and get us in position. So,
and what's scary is everybody's calling him MVP, and I totally agree when it's a critical situation. And what I'm worried about with him is when we're in our side of the field, right, on a kickoff return, that he's going to make a big mistake, which he did, you know. And I think some of it is the play calling by Todd. You know, short passes, you know. Passes that
was a short pass that he was attempting to record. It just got tipped. It just got batted down. But you know, the fact of the matter is none of those drives late in the game, we didn't take off any time. We didn't move the ball, and we didn't take off any time.
We gave the ball back to them.
We played in the hands of Cleveland.
Yeah,
we played in the hands of Cleveland. And it almost seemed like they were dictating the game even when they were down by 7 points.
I know.
You know? I mean, as a fan, you should not feel like we don't have control of the game when you're up by a touchdown, when you're up by 2 touchdowns.
And let's back up a little bit and go back to what we said earlier. Listen, they did not play Ravens ball, okay, in terms of physicality. In Cleveland, somewhere toward the second half, late in the second half, they realized that and the momentum started changing. And I think it was that hit on Van Noy. When they hit him, should have been a penalty, but they didn't call it. They set the tone of physicality where we usually do that, and that was the beginning to me of the end of us in terms of the way Ravens play, and that there's no excuse for not being able to tackle Ford and just running over you. and not being able to tackle. That is just unexcusable to me.
Yeah.
Or inexcusable
And
to me.
last thing I'll say too, I was very disappointed, even though it worked out in our favor to a point, was when it was 4th and 2 and Cleveland gets called, I think, for encroachment or something. We were about to kick a field goal or go for it, and then we actually got the first down, right? And so we don't do anything with it, and then Tucker's kick got blocked. I wanted them to kick it from the jump.
You're right.
And, in division games, man, every point matters.
Counts.
And the greediness in these games, especially division games, I'm always on edge because you can lose by 3 points against the Pittsburgh.
I want them to be aggressive, right? Because you don't.
But at that point, we were up by a lot, and they just scored a field goal, and I said, let's eliminate their field goal with a field goal of ourselves.
Let's neutralize that, exactly.
I mean, can we get Tucker involved? And that block field goal should not, that's unacceptable.
In that case, when you're up, that's where every point counts.
Back on
if you're
points.
behind and you have a choice between kicking a field goal in 4th and 2, when you're behind, I say, and you're in the red zone, go for it. Yeah. That I can see, right? So it's a give and take.
Yeah.
It depends on the game and how the flow of the game is, right? And how you do that. But the good point is, I always tell Brandon, with this team and our talent, you got the best kicker in the league, and I always tell him there's no reason why you can't get to the 40-yard line and have at least a field goal.
But Tucker, he doesn't have like 3 attempts a game.
No,
I'm saying he only has like 1.
I'm saying
if he gets that.
Well,
and that's this year.
Well, that's a good thing because if we're scoring and we're in that area, that's fine. What I'm trying to say is, I always tell Brandon, I know it's a wish list or maybe I'm not in reality, but I say almost every possession should be points when you have a kicker like Tucker and you got a quarterback in a team like us. And you know what? The first 3 possessions that Ravens had, Brandon, they scored. And then after that, I just don't know what happened. It just fell apart.
Yeah.
It just fell apart.
Injury-wise, of course, Stanley gets hurt. I
Here
don't
we
really
go again.
care.
Here we go again.
Listen, I don't care. He hasn't been good. He doesn't impact the game at all. We don't win or lose because of him. We've been playing without him for the last 2 years. I'm over it. Humphrey got hurt. That's a little bit concerning, especially with a short week with Cincinnati. But, we're healthy. We're healthy. Not a lot of guys have gone down. Not a lot of big-name guys, at least.
Yeah.
So, next week is huge now. Short week, our first primetime game.
Not next week. This Thursday.
Well, at the time of this, I'm saying in terms of, on Sunday.
Yeah.
The next game. This is big now. This is a must-win. You can essentially eliminate Cincinnati, but the division is so tight. There's still a lot of games left, but their loss to Houston really hurt them. And I would be feeling over the hill if we won today.
Then we have a little
beat
bit
them.
of...
We got a 3-game lead on them. They're not coming back from that.
In fact, we eliminate them from the playoffs. Basically. Basically.
Yeah. So it's a huge
game.
week for our division.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh plays Cleveland, so we're back to our division, set of games. No more of these easy NFC teams that our division always beats. Pittsburgh beating Green Bay this week and stuff. So it's going to be interesting, and I want to see how they respond, because if you think, first of all, Cincinnati's going to be pissed off because they lost to a rookie in Stroud. Okay, they're going to be pissed off. Second off, they haven't forgotten that we squeaked out of Cincinnati, out of the jungle, with 3 points and won in that game. They want revenge.
Yeah. Well, forget that. We want revenge because look at the loss we took. We should be just as mean.
I'm saying, but with this team, you don't know if they're going to come out swinging or not.
Yeah. Well, I will say this to you, Brandon, and that this game on Thursday will determine, to me, the mentality of this team, and
in the second half of the season, because these games on the this is tough. This is tough now.
Yeah,
you got to dig deep, because you got Cincinnati, then you play primetime again against the Chargers and Herbert. The Rams should be an easy win, but then you got Jacksonville, San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You could literally crash and not make the playoffs if you crumble the second half of the season. This is no joke of games coming up.
You could crash and burn, or you could hit your stride just at the right time on the second half, and then go right into the playoffs.
And our defensive leader Roquan, after the Pittsburgh loss, he said, I'm sick and tired of losing games like this. Well, you just lost another one against a division opponent.
Yeah.
How are you going to come out now at home, prime time, against Cincinnati?
And rally his troops, because to me, Roquan is the new Ray Lewis.
And
so how are you going to rally these?
You can't have the same defensive effort like you did with Cincinnati.
Exactly.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
As a leader, I expect you to round up your guys, get them straight, and let's go.
On his side of the ball, because really, if I look at it, when you're scoring 31 points and stuff, that's an offensive, it was the defense who really this time, to me, failed. Because, they just let up too many
it was both sides
critical.
Because we didn't utilize our weapons on
well,
offense.
they had interceptions on the offensive side that killed us. And but so you're right, both sides. But if I had to pick a side that should step up in the Cincinnati game, it's the defense.
In terms of leadership, because I can't look at John for it. I can't look at my head coach for it. I'm looking at Roquan. I'm looking at Lamar.
Yeah.
And the whole John leadership thing is so overrated, because when he came in the league, he had Haloti Ngata, he had Ray Lewis, who was the leader for years, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs. You didn't have to be a leader. I mean, you walked into the perfect situation. So let's not overhype this coach. Yeah, he's got a winning record, but look at the talent he's had. But his motto for the last 5 seasons has been blowing leads. And if you're this great of a coach, when you got a rookie quarterback at the time in Lamar, that's the time where you show your leadership. And the same mistakes year after year are happening when we lose games.
Speaking of mistakes,
and it's an indictment on him.
Speaking of mistakes, Todd Monken has given Lamar freedom, so much freedom to do what he has to do, to play call at the line. But one thing he has to correct is those fumbles. And I just thought of that. When Lamar decides he's not going to give the ball to the running back like a Mitchell or Gus, takes it back out, that is so risky for a fumble, and he has had so many fumbles doing that.
You don't see any other team
no
doing
other
that.
team does that.
It worked in 2019.
Yeah, I would say to Todd,
that's 4 years ago.
Either hand it off, tell Lamar, hand it off to the running back, or run or run it as a quarterback draw. But don't do what he does.
To me, every mobile quarterback I see, whether it's Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, they're running when they have to, when they're drop back and there's nothing there. But these design runs, we're not fooling anybody anymore.
Especially in the red zone.
We need to move on.
I know.
We
especially
need
in the
to
red
move
zone.
on.
I am so tired. I'm sitting there with Brandon calling the plays with 3rd and 3 in the red zone
with an
for
empty
a touchdown
backfield.
on the 8-yard line, and with an empty backfield. What do you think the defense is thinking?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Everybody knows he's going to run.
Move on from that.
That's a Greg Roman stuff.
And the thing is you have 3 running backs now that Mitchell's in the play. Let's use him.
I know.
Let's use him. The reason why running backs are so disposable and no owner wants to pay them is because they take all this brunt of these tackles and get hurt.
And now your quarterback.
Now you want to do it with Lamar.
Your multi-million-dollar quarterback, you're
After
putting
you
in
just
jeopardy.
paid him.
You just paid him. And he's been hurt every year for the last 2 years. You're going to put him in that position, Todd Monken? Are you kidding me?
They just
you pay Gus to be that grunt man.
But not even the injury, just the fumbles alone should just let you know. Listen, we can't keep this play in. Obviously, the quarterback and the running back are not on the same page. You cannot jeopardize a crucial drive with that play and fumble the ball. Yeah. You just can't.
Look, bottom line to me is, again, we should have won.
Yeah. And we covered everything that I wanted to in this episode. We covered John, we covered Lamar, Todd Monken, Keaton Mitchell, the defense. That was the issue, the aggression, not doing the ground and pound. I mean, all those factors. there wasn't much positive to say this game. I mean, they started out great, but when you collapse like that, I'm sorry, I can't give you any flowers. You got to get the job done.
Exactly.
You got to get the job done. And
Totally
the
agree.
fact that we're 2-2 in our division just makes me so sick because I can deal with the Colts loss or whatever, but these division games mean much more.
You only have 3 losses.
You should be 4-0
Yeah.
in the division.
Yeah,
You can't drop this game in Cincinnati.
You got 2 division games that you should have easily won.
Yeah.
Easily won. I don't care about the Colts.
That's
Easily.
why.
And now look at the position you put yourself in.
Yeah.
So the second half, hey, let's be positive. Second half, Thursday was going to be the defining moment of the Ravens, in my opinion, because they need to win this game against Cincinnati. If they win, then we can go on from there.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is I've been saying this week after week. We're in a good position, right? I mean, it's not often where you lose a game and you're still first in the division. This division is tight though, and now we only have a game lead. You had some breathing room because you had a 2-game lead for multiple weeks, but you dropped this game and now you got a 1-game lead. So it could all change if you lose again. It could all change. Mm-hmm. And I not only do of course I want to make the playoffs, but just for bragging rights, I want to win the division too. It means a lot in this division because we're so competitive. We're so good. And if you blow this will be heartbreaking. I want to win the division, and then I want to see let's see if we can elevate in the playoffs, which we haven't done. But we got to take step by step, and the easiest way to make the division, make the playoffs, is to win our division. Bottom line. So let's not lose this Bengals game, another division game. You just can't. So we'll see how it is. We're not going to be waiting long. We're not going to be waiting long because it's on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. So let's hope that they can, learn from this. We say it all the time in these losses, and obviously they don't, and we see it again and again.
That's the disappointing part.
You can't relax until the game's over.
It's like we don't know what identity this team is when it comes to the play calling, and what Lamar is going to do and step it up.
You think you do, and then they go back to their old ways. And then they go back to their old ways, and that's what's kind of disappointing to me, and I believe Brandon, because we can't continue on this path. Yeah. With all the weapons they say we have, we've got to utilize them. So Ravens, let's utilize them. See what happens. I still think this team is very good, right?
They
are. I said this is the best feeling I've had to win a Super Bowl since that run in 2019. But games like this is where it makes me panic a little bit. And I'm sorry, but I gotta say, you got to win a Super Bowl with this quarterback. You got to get one. He's just too talented, and you got to utilize him right. So Todd Monken has to really, get into Lamar's mind and get him making the right decisions.
So we got a lot of games left. This is the first half of the season. I think there's 7 more games to play.
We haven't even had a bye week yet.
I know. So we got more games to play, and this is the time to peak, is what I'm trying to say. So everybody's got to gel. And stay healthy.
Handle your business.
And handle business and peak, and then we'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
But let's get our roles right, and Lamar, please make those right decisions at this point in your career.
Let's include Keaton Mitchell. Let's not make the same mistake with Cincinnati again.
I mean, if they don't listen, next podcast with Cincinnati, if they don't utilize Keaton Mitchell, I don't know what we're gonna say, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hope they learn their lesson.
Yeah. So listen, thank you for everybody, especially if you lasted this long. And you will hear from us very soon, coming up on Thursday. We'll either record it that night or definitely on Friday. But you will hear from us very soon.
Yeah.
And let's see if the whole aura and demeanor of the podcast changes.
We'll see.
They prove it to us.
Go Ravens Nation.
Yeah, let's go.